You're listening to international investment advisor Doug Goldstein on the Goldstein on Gelt show, the financial show where we'll talk about how you can make the most of your money. With all the confusing financial chatter bombarding you each and every day, Goldstein on Gelt will give you the practical information you want and need about living a financially stable life. Here's your host, money maven Doug Goldstein.
Okay, we are back. I'm very happy to have on the show Gail Reynolds. She was once a single mom with 2 children living on benefits with no school qualifications or job prospects, and now she is called in England the 6 million pound mom. Gail, pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me. Hello.
When they talk about pounds, they are talking about money, right?
They are indeed, yes.
And you've got a team of over 2,500 Avon reps?
I do, yeah. That's throughout the entire United Kingdom. Yes, I do.
Amazing. So how did you get to where you are?
It wasn't actually something that I was looking for. 2002, I moved home. And when I moved home, I got myself a job and still had the 2 children, had a boyfriend at the time, Brian. We got ourselves a little flat and we settled in quite quickly. But where I'd moved from was a place I'd lived for 10 years, and I didn't really realise just what a good network of friends I'd got until I'd left. And you were talking about a 3-hour drive, so it wasn't like I could pop in my car and sort of go and visit. So Avon for me was something that I kind of stumbled upon just so as I could meet new people. I trusted the company. My mum did Avon, my nan did Avon. I knew the product, so I kind of stumbled into it.
That's amazing. It's funny that you said both your mother and your grandmother. The same thing happened to me. I actually, in my day job, I'm an investment advisor. When I started on Wall Street about 20 years ago, I was partners with my mother, who was a stockbroker. And in fact, my mother's mother was also a licensed stockbroker. She was one of the first women in the States to be licensed on Wall Street.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so you and I have a lot in common.
Yeah, and to be honest, it's one of the things I've learned over the 10 years. It's actually, it's one of the key elements to becoming successful in anything that you do. You have to have an interest in it. You know, you've got to have some kind of background or knowledge or experience within that industry. I mean, if I would have been no good selling, you know, pills and healthcare and stuff like that, because I never really knew anything about it. But makeup, you know, I knew a lot about it. And like I say, my mum was in it, my nan was in it. So it's actually one of my top tips that if you're going to start anything, you're going to have at least an interest in that industry.
So let's talk a little about schooling, because you stopped school at a rather young age, about 15, and then you were just working in the fruit and vegetable market. Did you ever imagine that you would get to where you are today?
Do you know what? I never did. I mean, I'm one. I don't know if you know, but I'm one of I think it's 69 grandchildren and great grandchildren. That was at the last count about 3 months ago, and I was the eldest granddaughter. And at the very ripe age of sort of 9 and 10, I was also the babysitter. So my mum's brothers and sisters were popping babies everywhere. And I was the one that looked after all the babies so as they could go and have parties and go out and celebrate. So from a very young age, I just wanted to be a mum, do the traditional, have a baby, get married, settle down and sort of be a housewife. So actually, business was never at the forefront of my mind, and this, if somebody had told me this 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I probably wouldn't have believed them.
You would suggest that when people talk about you have to have long-term plans and every step of the way you need to know where you're going to be in 5, 10, 20 years, that may not actually be the case?
Actually, now I've found the business that I want to be in, then I actually do believe in that as a brilliant process to, keep moving forward in your business. But when you're kind of just stumbling along and you're being the mum and you're being the housewife and you don't really have that kind of mindset into growing a business, then, people just don't do it, do they? They plan their summer holiday. That's about it. They just plan the one event of the year. Whereas I think once you've got that business and you start thinking about the business as a whole, I think planning ahead is crucial.
I know that you spend a lot of time teaching women who are looking to go into business, and I'd like to focus on some of those questions, but is the advice that you're going to give us today applicable to men as well?
It certainly is. My husband's also part of my business.
He's an Avon lady as well?
He's an Avon lady. I'm sure he'll appreciate that term. No, actually, my husband, who was my boyfriend when I first started Avon, I managed to save enough money to get the ball and chain and actually married him about 2 years later. So that was my Avon savings. I got him. But actually, after my second year, he saw my accounts. And he was just absolutely blown away. I mean, my husband was 16 years in management, and in my second year, I was earning more than him. And he was like just blown away, and he was like, right, I need to see those accounts. Let me see that, because I was still looking after the children. At one point, I was still working 20 hours a week doing a job as well, and doing the school runs and the washing and the drying and the ironing like most women. But my husband came on board quite quickly when he saw the money, which most men do.
That can certainly get you excited. We are talking with Gail Reynolds, who had started out as a single mom living with 2 kids, and now she is in the top 1% of earners in the Avon company, literally worth millions and millions of pounds. For those of you in America, that's many millions of dollars. And she's been talking about how she got there. Gail, tell me something. If you wanted to give one important bit of advice to a woman perhaps who is where you were 5, 10, 15 years ago, what would you suggest?
A lot of mums that are at home with children don't seem to have a lot of confidence in themselves to actually just make the first step and start inquiring and looking out for a work from home job. So I think one of the biggest tips I could give anybody that's interested in this kind of business is do a lot of research. You can do it now with the internet. I mean, 5 or 6 years ago, we didn't use the internet as big as we did today. But I think it's building your confidence as a woman. Again, it's about listing what you can do rather than what you can't do. When I went back to college at 25 years old, I went in and I said, okay, I need to re-educate myself. And the lady said, well, what can you do? And I said, I was good at maths. And she said, okay, let's do a course in maths. So it wasn't what can't you do, it's actually what can you do. So one of the biggest tips I would say is probably look at yourself as a mum as well. You've probably got quite a few skill sets that you don't even imagine you've got. As a parent, you're always negotiating with your kids to make sure they're eating the broccoli and the carrots. So you've got pretty good negotiation skill sets. Obviously, again, you've got to be good at organising. So you've already got a fantastic skill set there. And lots of mums coach and develop their children, and they nurture. And that's what this business needs. So my biggest piece of advice would be look at yourself, see what you're good at, make some lists, what you're good at, rather than focusing on what you can't do.
You keep referring to this business, which is, in your case, Avon. Are there other companies like this, or is Avon really the business that you're referring to?
No, do you know what? There's tons and tons of multi-level marketing businesses, which is what I refer to. I say this business because I want it to come across like as a whole, because, I mean, there's many terminologies for it. You've got MLM, which is multi-level marketing. We're also called a direct selling business, but it's a network marketing business as well. So this industry that I personally kind of stumbled into 10 years ago is open to anyone in the world that has any kind of inclination about starting up a business from home around their children, and with little or even no education in business. You don't need it because there's so much information out there.
As you mentioned before, the internet is becoming more and more prevalent in our lives. Do you think that's actually going to negatively impact the need for this kind of face-to-face sales?
I don't think it is. Avon just in the UK. I mean, it's out in a lot of countries already, but Avon in the UK have just developed an online brochure where I can put that on my Facebook account, my Twitter account, and any social media account that I've got, and I can actually sell from sitting behind my computer desk. I don't have to do the old traditional go and put a book in through a door or go and hand a book to a customer. I still do that, and I still will continue doing that. However, the generations of today are all online, aren't they? 500 friends on Facebook, but they probably only see 3 of them. It's kind of, for me, it's developing and embracing change. And this time 5 years ago, Facebook wasn't heard of. But now it's like 50-60% of my business. So it's definitely something that's a positive impact on this industry. Personally, I see it as a positive, revolutionary way to build a network marketing business.
So Facebook is about 50 to 60% of your income, but it certainly doesn't take up 50 to 60% of your time, does it?
Oh gosh, no. I mean, I've got Facebook pages and groups and profiles. I've got my own personal website, which I write blogs, helpful tips, hints, ideas on building the business. Even things for customers, the brand new mascaras and face creams that are coming out. So it's kind of one of the things that I taught myself was attraction marketing about 5 or 6 years ago. And I actually used all the media platforms to do that. So a lot of people can find me purely through any of the social media platforms now. As in type in Avon, 9 times out of 10, I'll pop up.
So are you mostly today an Avon lady, or are you a businesswoman or a coach? How do you define yourself?
I don't know. I think I've got quite a few titles. I get confused myself, to be honest. I am, first and utmost, I am the Avon lady. I'm very proud of that title. But I'm also called a senior executive sales leader, which is, there's many kind of ranks and levels that you go through. So you become an Avon representative first, and you sell to your own customer base, your friends, your family, your neighbours. And then I got promoted into leadership, and anyone can do that once they're a representative. And it was so basic. It was, do you know what, Gail, you're a pretty good Avon lady. Why don't you teach others to do the same? And by doing that, I then earn a commission off what they sell. So they earn their own personal income, but whatever's left over, I get a commission off that as well. And then you can climb through the ranks and earn more and more in percentages. So I'm a senior executive sales leader. I'm an author. I'm a coach. And I do guest speaking as well, motivational speaking, inspirational speaking for other companies as well.
I see. Well, it certainly would be very inspirational, and it is quite, talking to you about this. I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier, which is you felt the need to go back and get some higher education when you were 25. You said you studied math. Why did you do that?
Again, it was the only thing I was relatively good at when I left school. At the age of 25, I was left a single parent for the second time. So at age 25, I had 2 babies. I had a 6-week-old that was Libby, and my other boy, he was 7, Ashley. And I thought, life isn't supposed to be like this. I'm not supposed to be here. I'm 25. I was on income support. I had no education. I didn't drive. I've had very low self-esteem. And I decided that actually, if anybody was going to change my life, it was only ever going to be me. So I just literally pushed myself down to the local college, and everything went from there. And like I say, I was only ever good at numbers. So that was the obvious choice.
That is the inspirational side of it, which is you realize that there was no one going to help you except yourself. And I think that many people can learn from that. We've been talking with Gail Reynolds, who has literally gone from rags to riches. She through the Avon path. Gail, I actually have a lot of questions, but we're out of time. Just tell me, how can people follow the work that you're doing and learn more about you?
I did say I'm on all the social mediums, so anything from Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. You can just type in Gail's Avon, and you can find me across the board on any social media platforms. I have 2 websites. One's called gailsreps.co.uk, and that is based on the Avon business, the multi-level marketing, the sales leadership, and how to build a business from that. But I also have a website called gailreynolds.co.uk, and that's more about working women, and there's even a community on there where we can share ideas. There's about 500 members, and they're literally across the globe. They could be nail technicians to hairdressers to a multi-level marketer like myself. And it's got my books on there. I've got books that I've written over the past couple of years. audio interviews very similar like this, and it's just a really nice community as well.
All right. Gail, thanks so much for your time.
No problem. I've enjoyed my time with you. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Goldstein on Gelt Show with money maven Doug Goldstein. Doug's weekly radio show is heard around the world, but if you miss it, you can download the podcast at www.goldsteinongelt.com. The Goldstein on Gelt Show gives you up-to-date financial ideas so you can get on the path to financial freedom. If you'd like your questions answered on the air or off, send Doug an email to doug@profile-financial.com. It's your money for your future, so join Doug every week to build your wealth on the Goldstein on Gelt Show.